So welcome back to the Gear Shift Chat, episode number 2. And this is a good one.
Yes.
So what are we talking about today, Connor?
We're talking about the video that has just been released on Friday.
Yes.
The Toyota MR2.
Now, for the ones who commented on the last
MRS,
podcast,
actually. Sorry, MRS.
MRS, exactly. For the ones who commented on the last one, who actually managed to possibly get this, I don't know, this is pre-recorded. For anyone who doesn't know that. This is if you got it, fantastic. But it's a Toyota MRS. There was only 600 ever made.
Yep.
It was made for the Midship Runabout competition.
Yep.
So it's a Toyota MR2 with a sequential manual gearbox. Not the most reliable gearbox for anyone who knows it, but that'll come into it later.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the car?
I love it. I just like wee convertibles. The thing is, it's got 140 horsepower.
Yeah, I think it's 140 brake horsepower, yeah.
140 brake horsepower.
1.8 litre, 4-pot, naturally aspirated.
Where's Redline?
I realize about 6,500, 7,000.
Not bad.
It's quite high.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, I like it so much because it's so unique, and preferably because of the colour and the colour combo. I love the tan interior with that colour, and the thing is, because it's the Midship Runabout, it's got a diffuser and a wing on it, and it just adds this bit more. There was actually a guy we were speaking to, I remember, at a car meet, and he said, I used to hate these cars, but for some reason, I really like this one.
I think he has the same outlook as I do.
Yep.
I never liked the MR2s. My granddad always raved about them. He was like, "Oh, it's such a great car. I'd love to have one." And I look at it and I'm like, "Oh, I don't like the MR2s." But that one there specifically, it's either the color combo or the front splitter and the spoiler at the back, all stock. It was just really tastefully done. It's got the chrome. Yep. It's got chrome alloys, and the fact that you got that British racing kind of green color with the tan interior just goes so well.
I think it looks really good.
Besides, you have a Japanese lady who speaks. It's the Etto system, actually.
Yep.
So whenever you press a button, it does the Etto. You got a little card there or whatever.
Speaking of weird things, it's got a wee push to start button.
Yeah, so weirdly, it's got obviously your main key, like an old Toyota MR2. You put the key in, and you turn the ignition, and it starts. But what you can also do is you put the key in, turn the ignition on, then you can press the start button. So honestly, I couldn't tell you if that was original from stock. There's just not really enough information on it.
It looks pretty stock, but
it's also got a little like a flicking switch, which I have no idea what it does. But
normal Japanese car things, I guess.
But it's also the interior is all Japanese. You got Japanese buttons. You got the Japanese on the. It usually says, "Don't put your feet on the dashboard." Don't do this. Don't do this. It's all Japanese.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
But no, there's so many weird quirks about that car. There's no boot space.
I mean,
there is, but there isn't.
If you want to have bread, you can't buy a full loaf of bread.
Yeah, you have to
Well, you can.
You have to bend half of it.
Exactly. Buy a full loaf of bread, then realize, oh no, I've got an MR2. Then go, oh, I bought milk as well. I will do this. Let me just drink my milk and shove the bread into the milk carton. That's really all you can do. But there is
very weird way of putting it. Okay.
There is some space behind the driver's seat and the passenger seat.
Yeah.
But there's really not much space. You could definitely not go anywhere far. Like you couldn't go on holiday. You couldn't take big bags. You could really take 2 backpacks. That's what you could really fit in there. Plus maybe a slight bit in the front. But the bit that really loses all the space is actually the spare wheel.
Yeah.
Now you may think, oh, it's a spare wheel. I live in the UK. I don't necessarily need a spare wheel. I can just take it out and have loads more space. But a lot of it's actually molded. It's all molded plastic in the front. So you can do that, but you can't really. And the funny thing is, we've actually used the spare wheel.
Have you?
It's the only car we've ever used a spare wheel on.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, the tyre blew out.
On what occasion?
Mum was driving to Belfast. The tyre blew out. And so we had to stop and get a new wheel on it for her.
Is that why it's in storage at the minute?
Yeah, we haven't had time to get a new wheel on it. It's just parked in the garage. Dry stored, just parked there. It's like...
I thought there was an issue with the engine.
No, there's a bit of a noise in the exhaust. A bracket on mountain or something like that. So it's nothing.
Oh, so it still runs?
Yeah, you just start and drive and move away.
I thought it was still had an issue with
still tax insured and MOT. It's just... We need to put new tyre on it, and we have another time to put new tyre on it.
Fair enough.
About 5 months later.
Yep. You've just kept it in dry storage. Yeah. Now, I'm glad you kept it in dry storage because, like you said in the video, there is no rust done on it.
Yeah, that car has never had any rust work done. It's been purely original from the factory. It's never been painted, never been an accident, nothing. one thing, if you do know the Toyota MRSs, they have a major issue, specifically the MRS, the
Yep.
sequential gearbox. It's got sensors, and directly below the sensors, or sorry, directly above the sensors are hydraulic pipes, and sometimes they can leak. And the biggest problem with those is the pipes actually leak directly on the sensor and wrecks the sensors.
Yep.
Now, there was only 600 ever made, so trying to find a sensor is as hard as trying to find a hen with teeth.
Yeah. Hen's teeth.
You just can't do it. It's impossible. We looked, and there was one supplier who had sensors, but they're apparently out of stock 10 years ago. So they still have it on the website, but it's just currently out of stock, waiting for stock to come in. 10 years later, they still have no stock. So I don't think we'll ever see a new manufacturer of those sensors. Just too little demand.
Then where did you get them? Because the sensors had broke on them.
Yeah, so sensors needed replaced, and my dad actually managed to find a fella in America who had done a YouTube video too on how to fix those sensors. And he actually, that's his entire thing he does, is those specific cars, he's gone and he's bought a whole load of parts. So from the gearbox control modules, you know, like ECU, just for the gearbox, he's bought loads of different sensors off ones that have been crashed or scrapped or whatever he's managed to get hold of.
Oh, so it's a genuine sensor? I thought it was like a remade
No, it's
one.
a genuine sensor.
Okay, good.
That he's taken, and he's had to remake the interior on the inside of the sensor
Yep.
to get it to work.
Yep.
Because someone's crashed the car or they've had the same issue. They've taken the gearbox out, put a normal manual gearbox in it, which is what a lot of people do with those cars because of the issues. You can't find the parts. So he's bought the sensors that don't work, and he's actually manually remade the sensors interior. So fantastic work for this man. I don't know his name, but I will get it. We can just drop it on the screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you do have an MRS and you're having issues with the gearbox, I recommend you speak to him. We paid him online, you know, before we'd even had anything shipped or delivered. He shipped it, delivered it, no issues, no problems. You could call him, everything. I highly recommend it.
Brilliant. Okay. I actually didn't know that.
But yeah, no, it's crazy because the fella originally bought the car about, must have been nearly 8 years ago now.
The guy who owned it before you?
Yes, the guy who owned it before us. He bought the car in Japan and had the car shipped from Japan to the UK to get on the road. And in the interim, that entire time, the car had that issue. I don't know if it was because of the transport or whatever it was. But he shipped the car here and he could never basically drive it. He could never get it working. He took it to Toyota, the dealer, and it sat at Toyota for I think it was like 4 or 5 years. I think it was. But it basically sat at Toyota for a very long time. And then I went to a couple of mechanics, and not even Toyota could get the car fixed. We had the car, and realistically, it wasn't worth the time for him to pay us to repair it. And it was just such a rare thing. It was nearly scrap because, well, you couldn't get the parts. You couldn't fix it. So what do you do with the car you can't fix, you can't get the parts for?
Yep.
You can't spend £1 million hiring people to spend their entire life to work and find parts and stuff like that, or even make parts. So my dad actually bought the car from him, basically as a car that was going to get scrapped away. It was going to get taken to the scrapyard, and he thought he'd give it another go, and he spent maybe 100 or 200 hours just out of purely interest and frustration of he should be able to get the car fixed. And my dad has a saying of, if it doesn't have a mother or father, he can fix it. So he was trying to prove himself right. And that's actually how it came about. He spent many, many weekends, many hours after, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, just like banging his head against the wall, trying to understand how this car works, to the point I had friends like that did software, spoke to them, could we do this here? Let's do this here. And we got the actual Toyota Tech Stream software to actually be able to diagnose it.
Okay.
And try to understand it. And even then it was still chaos.
Oh God.
Like we took the gearbox out, the the actual control modules, TCU or whatever it is.
Yep.
I think maybe at least 5 or 6 times one night alone. So we've had it out maybe about 30, 40 times. Because you get it in and it would work. We'd recalibrate and retest it. Then it would work. And then 10 minutes later it would just stop working again. We had to get sensors. We had to get new control module for the gearbox as well. That had given an issue. So we had to end up replacing the control module for the gearbox. Both sensors for the gearbox. There's actually 3 sensors there, but one sensor was grand. So we actually have some spare sensors and the parts as well. But we can now do it in like 20 minutes. We can do like a Formula 1 kind of dismantle and reassembly of that gearbox.
You're so good with it, yeah.
Yeah, and we had to make special tools because how you actually get the screws in.
Yeah.
There's not actually enough space for a normal screw.
Oh,
a normal
right.
screwdriver. You've got to go and make special stuff to get out and then real chaos. But it's working, and we got it working, and you started to drive it now, and there's no issues.
I remember when my dad came in to drop his Land Rover in for rust repairs.
Yeah.
He spoke to your dad, and your dad said, "Oh, I'm not giving up on this car. Not giving up." And my dad said, sure. He says, "Nope, I'm not giving up." He was consistent.
You couldn't have paid someone it wouldn't have been worth anyone's while to pay for someone to look at it and fix it. The amount of time and effort just in pure this isn't working, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. We went through every single sensor on that car.
Yep.
Every single wire, every single pump, every single pipe, every single little gearbox thing. My dad completely dismantled the gearbox pots.
Mm-hmm.
Check maybe there's something there, was jamming it or something. So you couldn't have paid someone the time and effort to go and actually fix it. It was purely just a labour of love.
Oh yeah.
He bought it for my mom. So he fixed it up for my mom as a little present for her. But I remember actually before it had gone completely fixed and we've just been working and no issues, I actually went to take it for MOT. Mm-hmm. Took it to MOT. Told the guy, look, this is the car. Don't turn it off in gear because it has a tendency to jam the gearbox. He didn't listen. He knows exactly how to fix a car. So he knows exactly how to drive a car. He's works at the MOT. He's worked for 10 years. He knows how to drive a car. So what does he do? He drives in, turns the car off in gear, and jams the gearbox. Had to get it towed. Not towed. We had to get it on a recovery lorry from Lisburn all the way back to Lawrence. That obviously cost a pretty penny. Then had to take out the gearbox, unjam the gearbox, and refix all the issues. So it's a temperamental car, but it's a very fun little car. It's very light. It's rear-wheel drive, rear engine. So.
I actually didn't know that you can't turn it off in gear.
Yeah, well, we managed to get that. It was an issue with that specific car.
Oh, is it sorted? Can you turn it off in gear now?
Yeah. Okay. But it was at the time it was just being difficult because of the sensors.
Yeah.
Because that was before we had the guy who could actually give us new sensors.
Right.
So sensors, if they were in the wrong position, it would give the wrong reading. And what the computer would do is the computer would say, "Oh, this is the wrong position. It's out of the range of where it should be."
Yep.
And it would go, "Oh no, I don't know what to do," and just see the stars around his head and just go, "Wee, I don't know what to do," and just jam up.
So the car needs to be perfect for it to work, basically. Yeah.
Basically, yeah, you can't have a sensor giving you the wrong reading,
yep.
Even if it's the smallest out.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work. You have to have literally perfect. If it's not perfect, it's not going to work. So it's like Japanese cars. It has to be perfect, but they just forgot that not every time it's perfect. Yeah. So there was no variation in what the sensor could say.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to get on to the actual video itself. We haven't talked a lot about it.
We have to, yeah.
And what sort of things happened.
Well, obviously it was quite a cool video. We had the car out. We took it in. It was a really nice day. We had the roof down. We were driving. We spoke about how little storage there was in the car.
Yeah.
But we ended up taking it up to a high-rise car park building. And while we were there was a couple young individuals in an Audi A3.
Yep, black one.
Yep. Black one, who thought they were the bee's knees, and they were trying to do what, Connor?
Trying to do donuts and drifts, and long story short, they couldn't. So they were kept on doing really bad, and
the burnouts were awful.
They were all horrendous, and they were trying to circle around us and all this.
I think he stalled it about twice.
Yes, no, a lot more than that.
But you have a couple idiots all the time, but. People appreciate the car, and I think, at least maybe I drove for not too long, drove about every couple of weeks, and I got quite a lot of compliments about how nice the car is, and people quite love it. So it's a cool little car, and it's a very unique and rare specimen.
I just like it because of the rarity, but just it is just a nice car.
It's irreplaceable.
It is, even though you're selling it.
We have 20 cars.
I know,
and the amount of time and effort it takes to obviously drive all 20. Keep them all in things just out of it's just a bit hard.
Fair enough. But anyway, so after the black Audi A3 left us alone, and we finished off the video, we did B-roll and got it all sorted, then packed all the cameras in and mounted all the cameras into the car, one facing me, one on the back lid of it,
and then one of the driver's door. Forward.
Now, on the way to the high rise, we had a camera on my side, on the passenger side, and completely fine, no issues. Didn't have any bother with it. Worked fine. Hold well. Yeah, everything went well. Then we decided to do the same thing again, but just on a different side. So we had all the cameras set up on the outside, one on the outside, one facing me, one on the back lid. And we decided to just drive into the town centre.
Yeah, city centre, yeah.
City centre. Driving through, all fine, and then you were overtaking someone and it blew off.
Well, I wouldn't say it blew off, it just fell off. It was a really bad suction mount. That was a really cheap one.
Yeah.
And what happened was I actually had my hand on it for a lot of the time while I was driving. I had my hand out the door and I was holding it literally on the side. My shirt was there. And I took my hand off to change gear and it went pop, 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 pop down the street. And that was the last we saw it.
Haven't seen it, haven't been able to collect it. We did stop, we did try to find it, but long gone. My guess is it went down a drain.
Or got hit by a car and launched into a field somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
It was a service to MSL at that point.
We searched high and low. We found bits of the suction mounts. Yeah. Only very small chips and
the suction mount pretty much was completely gone. There was 3 suction heads on it, and we found one part of a suction head and the actual tripod mount section of it, but the camera was gone and everything else was gone as well as the footage. But that's greed. We thought, well, we'll get another couple minutes of footage just in case we want it, but I mean, we didn't use it anyway. We lost all the footage on that camera. Actually.
Yeah, and we lost that camera anyway. It was a GoPro Hero Session 5 for anyone that was interested.
Or in Belfast, and you find it.
Yeah, if you find.
I mean, there is actually on the SD card. It should have a video of you talking about if you find this camera, please do. Access, whatever.
If you find a Hero Session 5 in a random drain or
in the sewers,
in the sewers, random drain sewers, or in a field for some reason,
or if you're really good at investigating, would you go find the parts and pieces and reassemble it for us?
Yeah, that would be nice.
I don't think that's gonna happen, but yeah,
but,
can always hope.
No, that was a bit annoying.
We need to give it a proper grave.
Yeah,
ceremony.
We spent like an hour trying to find it.
Yeah, we pulled over on the side of the motorway.
Yep.
And we're busy running around on the side, looking and trying to find it. And then when there was no cars for a minute, Connor was busy doing his, how quickly can I not get hit by a car?
Frogger.
Yeah, just doing some, what's it called? What's that game everyone plays?
Frogger. Crossy Road.
Crossy Roads.
Yeah.
Connor was into Crossy Roads.
Couldn't find it. I got a lot of weird stares and a lot of people were very annoyed at me.
Yeah, a lot of people were really frustrated because you were in the middle of the motorway, but
yeah.
I mean, sure, it is what it is. We're looking for something important, but
couldn't find it. And when I was actually on the side of the road, saw a police car drive past, and we were like, right, now's time to go. So we ran over, got into the car, and just drove.
Yeah, we just okay, we're not going to find the camera. We'd look for ages. And
yeah,
we found small pieces, but we weren't going to find it. So we just gave up at that point. And we're like, home time.
I still have the remains of it.
We should give it a burial at some point. It's just buried in the garden patch.
Yeah,
the vegetable patch.
Mum's gonna be really annoyed. How plastic?
It's why on earth is there a camera part here? But no, that camera served you well, and from that point we've actually upgraded. So it was almost a good thing. We learned the magical thing of don't make the same mistake twice. Invest in better stuff.
Yeah, invest in better suction mounts and use string.
Yeah, so for the next couple of videos after that we actually used old shoelaces and the string we'd found lying around just to tie the cameras physically to the car. So if the suction mounts did give up, we would be fine. But it still goes back to the simple thing of, in South Africa there's a really good saying. It's goedkoop is dierkoop, which basically translates to, if you buy cheap, it's expensive. So cheap mounts, you could save yourself 50 quid on a mount, but you could lose a £400 or £500 camera.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really good price for the mounts, but the camera is expensive to replace.
You know what you just said there? If you just put subtitles underneath that, I could make you say anything.
Hoe gaat het met jou, Danny? That means how are you on to?
Excuse me?
Excuse me? Sylvia? Say again? Look, but no, I think the MRS was quite a cool video, and we'll have to get it at some point as well before it goes.
Have to get it back out and have a drive, you know.
Definitely, it's a great little car, and I would recommend MR2s after that day. You know, even like an MR2 with a manual gearbox, it's changed my perspective on them. And I think don't judge a car too hard until you've actually driven it or you've had some experience with it, because
don't judge a book by its cover, basically. Yeah,
because I never liked them before, but now I quite like them. I'm the one being like, oh no, don't sell it. I like it. Don't keep it. Keep it.
I'm the same type of thing with BMWs. Used to hate them, but now after going in,
well, I mean, I had a BMW and it was great.
Yep.
But
after being in a couple of BMWs, I'm like, I actually quite like them.
BMWs are great. It's just how reliable are they?
No, they're not.
Like
they're
Mercedes, 100%. Mercedes, great. For anyone who does know or does have an MRS, you know, please do drop a comment, and if you have one, we'd love to see it. We'd love to maybe even possibly have it on the channel. So keep an eye out for it as well. Maybe we'll find one. Maybe we'll come across another one, and maybe we can have a reunion with one. Okay, so what we have next on the channel is a very rare car.
One of 21 in the world ever made.
Yes, Autel, right? 4-wheel drive, hot hatch from the 90s and Japan. So it's another Japanese import.
Yep.
We've got a lot of Japanese imports, actually.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, one of 21. It's 4-wheel drive. Really, 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 really rare car. I didn't realise actually till I'd seen it until a couple of people had spoken to me about it. But people love it. They're great cars. And his dad actually had one back in the day.
Yes.
So what do you think it is? A hot hatch from the 1990s. 4-wheel drive. 300 horsepower.
Yeah, 300... I'm going to get this so wrong. 340? I think.
Well, just would be here. We'll have it. But powerful little car. Really, really nice. Really well looked after. And the car's actually from Scotland. So,
and it has only 33,000 miles on it at the time of recording that video.
I thought it had a lot more.
33.
You learn something new every day. I was there and I don't even remember.
It was really low, yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, it's a Nissan as well. So Nissan hot hatch from 1990s. Drop a comment if you can guess what it is.
Oh, you shouldn't have said Nissan. People are now going to know what it is now.
How will they know?
Anyway.
I didn't know. I'm a car guy.
Okay.
I was a bad car guy.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Make sure you watch the next podcast and the next video coming out. Podcast every Wednesday, new videos every Friday. So nothing else to say, guys, but I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.